My birth name is William Moses Brown, born and raised in Hartford, Connecticut in 1942. I was educated in the Hartford Public School system, the Hopkins branch, and that one individual, Mr. Shaw. Well, the Hopkins branch back at that time, he was committed to doing something. I refer to him as Quiet Thunder. I would go to the Hopkins branch of the Hartford Public Library, which was in the North End. It's changed several times location. But the commitment by Mr. Shaw, he recognized his own humanity or prioritized his own humanity, and he recognized the humanity in others. And he was well educated, and he didn't mince words. He made you feel good. Librarians, Miss Rose, I can remember those names at 81 years of age. It was in the tunnel area, heading south from where it's at now, located in the Sand School, right before Firestone. But here's one added factor. It allowed me to leave my neighborhood by reading magazines, black publications, Jet magazine, Ebony magazine. You had access to it, but you had to have a desire, and the Shaw family would make sure they ignited a desire within you as a young folk. What you didn't learn in your home, I can't stress that enough, in your home, in your apartment in the hamlet of Bellevue Square, what you learned in your home, from your parents and from your grandmother, from your relatives. And it would be reinforced because though you didn't have the money within that family, the libraries had those magazines like Ebony, like Jet, like Reader's Digest, the condensed version, encyclopedias. So it was an extension of the family. There was so much lost in that fire. The upward mobility, the expansion of one's mind. The fact that it happened also connotes a psychosis where you become a co-conspirator in your own demise. And the value of the Hartford Public Library system is one whereby it reflected, again, a political commitment. Today, the commitment is not there politically. The libraries expanded your mind. And so you didn't think, again, I say, you might have been materialistically poor, but spiritually, your culture, rich, and you understood the system. And you didn't walk around, I use it, wallowing in self-pity. You tended not to become a co-conspirator in your own demise. Sometimes the jokes that arose regarding the Hopkins branch and what it meant to me, when some folks would say, the best way to hide a secret from a black man is to put it in the book. It's still ranked, but why? We gotta go back to the family structure where education was important. And I can tell you, it's not just hyperbole. My personal experiences, speaking to my truth, even in the public school system, there was not unusual to hear at some level at junior high school, why don't you drop out? You're not gonna accomplish anything anyhow. There's a well-known actor who was raised in Hartford. Eric LaSalle was raised up on Vine Street. He attended Weaver High School. Bill Costin is a very good friend of mine, and he has a cultural exhibit that's phenomenal. He says, you know, Lou, from the day we're born, we're writing history, our history. I think that's why at the young age of 81, I keep a journal now. And Bill Costin, with his cultural exhibit, he prioritized our humanity, all documented. I refer to 1619, because that's when Hannah Jones, we never learned about 1619 when the cargo of enslaved Africans were brought to the Virginia colonies. What we learned in history was what? The Mayflower, Plymouth Rock. Knowledge is power. And when the system, if it does not do the right thing, it's up to us within our own families. I'd say that the libraries are the equalizers. Educationally, you learn. Factually, you learn. You don't buy what the common norm might be when it comes to African Americans. You learn about Crispus Attucks. You learn about the Tuskegee Airmen. You learn about 6888 in World War II, black women in the Army. You learn that despite the fact in World War II, the German prisoners reportedly were treated better than the black soldiers. Things are coming out now factually, whereby within the armed services, within those countries, there were riots by African American soldiers. What that information has done for me, again, is to widen my world and not buy into the racism that come down from the media. What it means, as a matter of fact, for me, sit down and have a conversation with you. But when you know who and whose you are, you don't play intellectual Scrabble with the ignorance of white supremacy. You feel very confident who you are when the ignorance of white supremacy comes, and you shut it down right away. I ceased being a co-conspirator in my own demise at some point. That's why I know I'm blessed. But I never was going to work the man's 8-hour job. In my home, I go back to my home, I go back to the hamlet of Bellevue Square where I had to know who I was. And then there was the extended family. Like I said, the individual, the immediate family, and the community is the extended family. That meant that if you were out there doing something left-handed, someone's mother, they were chasing you, they would correct you. Now, like you said, the dysfunctional family. Is it by coincidence, the dysfunction in the family? Race matters. We got to have that conversation without any hatred. And the situation is worsened because thanks to 45, now there's a silver lining, don't get me wrong. He's exposing what the oligarchs, rich folks, don't want exposed. Whether it's consciously or unconsciously, the results have been the same. And the learning institutions, now it's like a cycle. Now they're talking about trade schools now. My dad had a 3rd grade education coming from Denmark, South Carolina, a man who was there when his father was shot down and killed by ignorant racists there in Denmark, South Carolina in the 20s. When he migrated from Trenton to Hartford, he would read 2 newspapers every day. He passed it on to us. He would read those papers from front to back. And that generation, not just my dad, his sisters and his brothers, they're ferocious readers, even the daily newspapers. And here I am as a news reporter. He said, "Did you see A, B, C, D?" He said, "Did you read the paper today?" I said, "Yeah." Then he would show me the paper. Here's a man with 3rd grade education, worked in the foundry. So educationally, after seeing things as a letter carrier in North Hartford, I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I was in my late 20s, early 30s. It came from seeing an incident on a street in North Hartford that was featured on TV that night. It was not what I saw. I saw it with my own eyes. It motivated me to get into that profession. 06120, involving a young man and a police officer. The story was not right. In my eye, it was not right. And it motivated me to attend the Connecticut School of Broadcasting at that time. My desire was to give my neighborhood a voice. My desire was to raise the self-esteem level of my brothers and sisters. I understood how I was a young wannabe thug. That thug life, and that was not my desire was to say, we don't have to go down that road. I told you I was a nerd. I mean, thick glasses, whatnot. I can remember being called to the board at Northeast Junior High School to spell independent. The teacher at that time, Manny Davidson, saw something in me. I misspelled it purposely. You know why? Because many of my classmates, I wanted to fit in. And knew I was being scrutinized. And once I made that commitment, knowing I'm blessed, that came about by doing my homework, the work ethic that my dad had, that many people in my community had, and to be able to say to my brothers who were there, hey man, we don't have to go down that way. But I had to do my homework. My desire was to raise the self-esteem level, quite frankly. That motivated me.
Thank you for listening to 250 Stories, a production of HPL Studios at Hartford Public Library. This episode was written and produced by Christopher T. Brown, sound by Sam Sigmund, edited by Faith Lucas, produced by Stephen Harris, and with photography and graphic design support from Hartford Public Library's communications team and the Hartford History Center. For more information on this project, visit www.hplstudios.hplct.org. New episodes release every Tuesday, so subscribe to stay tuned.